where you don't have to get your hands dirty. Unfortunately, that is something that the internet is able to do. So unfortunately, along with the fact that the internet is this wonderful thing, it's this wonderful piece where you can get all of this information, it is also a place where you can get a lot of disinformation and misinformation, and everything that you see on there is not true. And so even though these are innocent, and just even though we know, like Tory Lanez has had a whole trial, and there's all of these records and transcripts have been released, and you can actually go and look at it online, that these things did not actually happen, you still have people who will show up in the real world, as I'll say. They will leave the digital realm and they will come out into the real world, and they will cause harm to Black women. And it's not going to be as detrimental in the eyes of the public, because we are already in a system that does not value us as we should be. So it also is hands off for them, because they can say, well, I'm not responsible for my fans. And the new word is allegedly. Every time someone says something, they throw the word allegedly out there, right? Like that is supposed to absolve them from, telling lies on people, basically, or that it or hasn't been proven. And I tell people all the time, just because you can Google something, it does not mean that it's the truth. There's research and then there's me search. So, research is actually getting information from a reliable source, especially when it comes to research. There's a process to research for medicine. And there is, and in that process, you have to get permission. Like I would say in my field, you have to, once you write an abstract and you submit it to the board, you have to get permission to carry out whatever that, say you're testing a new medication, or say you're just testing a theory. And I would say, talk about COVID, C-19. Again, you have to write a theory, you have to write your abstract, you have to tell the board, the medical board, what you're doing, you submit it, and controls, you have to have, I would say, different audiences, your control audiences, or you will have to have that population that you compare, what happened or what's supposed to happen. And you have to submit all of these things and get it approved. I'm trying not to be technical. And then there is a procedure. You just don't go out willy-nilly and deciding to do an experiment, I would say, the way you want to. There is a procedure behind all of this. Then once that is done, then you submit it. And that, will determine whether or not the results are valid. So that is actually getting information from a credible source, rather than me just getting online and finding something that is going to be in agreement with what I already believe about what is happening. And that is the difference between research and me search. And it's also something called confirmation bias, to where if I believe something is wrong or right, or again, C-19, if I believe that the vax doesn't work, I am going to go online, and no matter what I pull up, my confirmation bias, my mind is automatically going to zoom in on that one thing that already confirms what I already believe or already believed. Looking, I'm not going to pay attention. I'm only going to look. My mind, and that's all of us, my mind is just going to zero in on what I believe, saying that it didn't work. So that's just what I mean by, the research and the me search, and how there's something called confirmation bias that makes us believe things, or we look for things to confirm what we already believe about medicine or certain people, and in relation to the show, what we believe about Black women. There is actually a study on digital massage noir, and it was done by Glitch. GLITCH, and I will, it was quite lengthy. And I've been breaking it down piece by piece because I know nobody's going to read the whole thing. And I've gotten a lot of email. I've been sending clips out to it, but I want everybody to take a look at it because it is quite extensive and it has been researched. And it's been researched because when it has to be, and it's not getting any better. It's gotten worse because when it comes to platforms, especially on YouTube, anybody can have a YouTube channel. Anyone can turn on their camera. Well, I won't say YouTube because you have to have so many hours before you can get monetized or have a certain audience. Facebook, I'll say, okay? Facebook and IG, just get your cell phone and turn on the camera and just start just talking and saying all of these things. And it doesn't matter if they're true or not, people are going to listen. And if people like you enough, if people think that you're pretty enough, and that's another thing when it comes to Black women, we are the only race that are subjected to also our looks, which is another part of the misogynoir. So case in point, even when it comes to movies and when it comes to music, and just historically, fair-skinned women, women who are of a lighter complexion or who meet more of a European standard are put out there because they are seen as more acceptable. And when things happen to a woman, again, of that aesthetic, then she's seen as softer. And it is supposed to be, or the community sees her as someone who is more deserving, or she's Black, but not too Black. Whereas if you have someone who's chocolate like me, and of course this is not a catch-all, so I'm not talking about all white people. I hate that I even have to say that, but it is what it is. But when it comes to someone chocolate like me, and those same things happen to me, it might catch your attention for a little while, but I am not that Black woman who has the little nose. I am not the Black woman who has the light skin. I am not European features. So there would not be as much sympathy invoked towards me because, and again, I will say that a lot of this can go back to people sympathize with what they can relate to. So, and there's studies behind that too. People will sympathize with lighter skin Black women because they see themselves in that aesthetic. But then you see someone like me, and especially when it comes to racism and the racist tropes and things of that nature, you will go all the way back to like the most harshest things. And then the sapphire trope, and the Black woman who has been, again, portrayed in the media as the one on the hips and doing all of these types of things, or the promiscuous one, or the one who just shows up and is just ready to be explosive. And when you have that personality, of course, whatever has happened to you happens to you is a result of your attitude, and you deserved it, not because you're reacting to what someone did to you. So that is just another layer of how digital misogynoir and misogynoir, it just has so many layers, how it affects us as Black women, how you not only need to be aware of it, but you need to also be cautious that you are not a part of it. When you know what it is, you also have to make sure that you are not online speaking to Black women in those ways, that you are not, be mindful of what you post. Be mindful that you are not posting things and reposting videos of just Black women going, because there's this thing with skits now. Be mindful that you are not posting these skits that people may think are real situations of Black women telling men, oh, I'm too good to eat at Applebee's, or what was it, a Cheesecake Factory? Yeah. Or that, I think it was a Cheesecake Factory, or that you're too good to go to certain places on the first date, or that you are just going on a date to get fed because you don't have food at home. It's not comedy. It is not comedy at all, especially when it's not put out there as a skit, or it's not put out there that this is not true, or that the person who makes it is a comedian, or the person who makes it is an artist who's just putting their work out there, which I just totally don't agree with, because of course you're using it with our community. People don't find out that it's a skit until later on. But when you put those things out there, that is what people believe, and you are part of the problem. And you need to be aware of that. And just be mindful of what you post, be mindful of what you repost, be mindful of what you like, because that is why I always get on here. And the first thing I tell you to do is make sure that you like, comment, share, so we can get through the algorithm. We need to be in digital spaces where they know that there's positive Black content, to where there are companies that are owned by Black people who are beneficial to the community and that is serving of all races, of all populations, but is Black owned and is going to, in this regard, and keep it in context with the show, who will cast Black women, in a positive light. So that's just a brief thing on Massage Noir. I'm going to have to go back, and because I told y'all there was a lot, I'm going to have to go back through those emails and answer your specific questions. But one, I wanted to make also an announcement, because I am going to, on Wednesday, there is going to be the State of the Judiciary in Jeff City, and that is when, joint session is going to be all next week. But on Wednesday, they're having a joint session with, the joint session at 11 a.m. is meeting with the justices of the Supreme Court, and Chief Mary Wilson is going to give the State of the Judiciary, which is our judicial system is in Missouri. So how that affects me, and what we're going to do is that for the first time, I will be giving a response to that directly after her message. So what happens is, if you can, like the State of the Address that the president gives every year, or if you watch the State of the State address that the governor of the state gives every year, you always have the opposing party who comes in after that, and they give their rebuttal, or they give their statement to what that political figure has said. Well, that is what I'm going to do on Wednesday. So I will also be at the press conference, and I will be giving the state of the judicial system in Missouri at the state capitol in Jeff City, immediately preceding Chief Mary Wilson when she tells you guys what the judicial system has going on in Missouri. So, and it will be streamed everywhere. So I hope you guys tune into that because, it's going to be completely different from the roses and the peaches that she's going to try to throw down our throats on during her time at the Senate. So I'm going to thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, I'm going to get back to your emails and make sure that I answer them thoroughly for you guys. And I hope that you are having an amazing weekend. I hope that you have an amazing week to follow. And I thank you again for Klose and Kutural with Dr. Carrie Say. And I will see you guys on the 3rd.